Good morning and welcome to another episode of Like It or Leave It. It is Monday, March 20th. We got a lot to talk about today. You know, as someone who didn't watch a whole lot of college basketball this season, you always got to love March Madness. You always got to love the upsets, the big games, the big shots, the pure raw emotion of it all. Like, March Madness is just great. March Madness is one of the two or three best sporting events of the entire year, and it lasts for a couple weeks, which makes it even better comparatively to like the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals or the World Series. But anyway, we are going to talk about the NCAA tournament. We are also going to talk about something that bothers me about the NBA, and especially right now bothers me about the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then I'm going to do a monologue of sorts, and I'll get to there in a second. Anyway, so hope you guys all had a great weekend. Hope you guys stayed safe during St. Patrick's Day. I went downtown personally. Great time. And yep, so let's get started. The NCAA tournament, one of the things people get really caught up on is which conference does the best. Like during college football, we do the same thing with the bowl seasons, and we're like, oh, the ACC is 2-4 in bowl games, or the SEC is 3-1 in bowl games. And we try to get this overarching image of the entire conference based on what its teams do in these singular one, in terms of college football, a singular game, win or lose, you only play one, and in college basketball, in what is single elimination. That's wrong. Let me start by saying this. If I work at a company and that company is doing, say if I were to work with Snapchat, right? Snapchat just sold and went on stock market 2 weeks ago now, or might have been a week and a half ago now. Made multi-millions worth of dollars, made multiple people multi-millionaires. But just because I was one of those people that was made a multi-millionaire for being with Snapchat does not define whether if Snapchat is great, I am great, either or both. Say it, if I were to work at a company and it was 10 of us, say it's a small business I work and there's 10 of us employed, we clean chimneys. That's our business. We clean chimneys, the best chimney cleaners in the business. And as you get certain accounts in your book and people start to see you, there's repeated customers, they're going to start to notice saying, hey, when this guy comes, my chimney looks really good. When this other guy comes, my chimney's a little less than spectacular. That's the same with all of these. This conference is great. That conference is great. Take it on a team-by-team basis. Take it on a player-by-player basis. Don't sit there and say, because this one or two guys are really good, that makes the company great. Or don't say, by this one or two teams being great, that makes the ACC or this conference great. You've got to take everything case by case, which is really hard for people. You look at this. You look at the ACC is getting a lot of attention at the moment, and to some degree, rightly so. When you have Miami loses by 20, Notre Dame loses by 12, Florida State loses by 25, Virginia loses by 26, Duke is upset by South Carolina, and North Carolina almost is upset by Arkansas. So, makes you think kind of in your head, it's like, wow, is the ACC not really as good as we think they are? Well, maybe not. Playing in a tough conference, I don't care if it's football, basketball, or baseball, the numbers are way too close to determine if you are better for playing in that conference or if you just have to grind with everyone so much during the regular season that by the time you get to the playoffs or your sports version of the playoffs, you're just kind of tired and beat up. Take 5-6 years ago, the AL East was the best team in baseball, or the best division in baseball. I'm sorry. Most people would tell you that. They didn't get one single team to the World Series between 2008 and 2014, besides they got the Rays there once, lost. The Yankees got there once, they won. And the Red Sox won on behalf of going from one of the worst teams in baseball to the best teams in baseball and having a miracle season and winning. But traditionally, they kind of just all knocked each other around, and they made it harder to advance once they got to the playoffs. You get to the AFC North, when the AFC North was one of the best divisions in football. And now it's kind of hard to believe any division with the Browns could be, but they were. The Steelers, Bengals, Ravens, they used to knock each other out. They were so physical. It was so demanding during the regular season. By the time they got to the playoffs, they were kind of just beat up and tired. In basketball, the entire Western Conference, for a good 4 or 5 year stretches, if you weren't at 50 wins, you weren't getting in. I remember seeing, it was back in 2008, I think it was the Lakers' first championship season with Gasol. So it would be 2008 or 2009. And the Nuggets and Warriors, this is pre-Steph Curry Warriors, still in Baron Davis, throwback. And they were both, someone was going to miss the playoffs while having 50 wins, which is crazy to me. So the Nuggets they got to 51 wins and got the 8th seed of the playoffs, but they were fighting so hard with the Warriors those last 4 or 5 games of the season that they got in the playoffs and got immediately knocked out. They got swept by the Lakers. Just because one or two teams in a conference do well, one or two guys at a company do well, does not state that the entire company does well or that the entire conference does well. On that note, some scores from yesterday. We have, in college basketball, Kansas over Michigan State, 90-70. North Carolina over Arkansas, 72-65. Oregon over Rhode Island, 75-72. Baylor over USC, 82-78. The real USC over Duke, 88-81. And UCLA over Cincinnati, 79-67. As LeVar Ball would say, I knew my boys could do it. In NBA scores, we have, sorry here for a second, my computer just acted up. Apologize, I guess we don't have it. Oh, there we go. In the NBA, we have San Antonio over Sacramento, 118-102. The Cavaliers over the Lakers, 125-120. I'm going to talk about that game coming up here now. The Portland Trailblazers over the Heat, 115-104. And the Philadelphia 76ers over the Boston Celtics, 105-99. Trust the process. You know, nothing good comes from being lazy. The Cavaliers, and I think even the Warriors to some degree, and I think the Rockets to some degree, and all these big-time teams, they're just getting lazy. The Cavaliers are just the team I'm going to pick on because I think they are showing the most signs of lazy. The Cleveland Cavaliers, I was watching the game last night between them and the Lakers, and I have not seen worse basketball games in my life. It was one of the most boring, most uninteresting. I was not captivated whatsoever. I sat there and I was on my phone and on my tablet for half the time, for over half the time, really, it was it wasn't a basketball game. It was a disgrace to call that a National Basketball Association game. The Cavs, and I understand it was the Lakers, so you don't get as up and excited to play the Lakers as you would other teams, but I mean, they wanted to sit against the Clippers, so if you can't get up for the Clippers and you can't play against the Clippers, you can't get up for the Lakers. I don't know, why not just stay home? You're already resting games as is. You should have just stayed in Cleveland. The Cavaliers, I completely understand conserving energy, what people think of the regular season, what LeBron thinks of the regular season, and just trying to make sure you get there healthy. But it is the most boring way to watch basketball now. And I think it's probably the most boring way to play basketball. The Cavaliers did the exact same thing the entire third, fourth, and last half of the second quarter. And I knew they did the exact same thing because I felt like I was kind of curious if my TV was rewinding itself. Kyrie Irving walks up, shoots a three. They don't even run offense. No back picks, no screens, no backdoor cuts, none of that. Kyrie just would walk up, shoot a three. If that wasn't their play, Kyrie would walk up, pass the ball to LeBron. LeBron drive to the basket, get a layup, get a dunk, get some free throws. And if that didn't work, well, we're just gonna. Kevin Love either just had to clean up a miss and get an offensive rebound and get a putback, or he'd get maybe I think just a random three by just happened to being standing there in the corner. They've gotten so lazy, so lethargic on offense that even a team like the Lakers, who should not be competing with them, I don't care if it's game 1, game 82, the playoffs. I don't care if it's game 43 and you're just bored waiting for the All-Star break. The Lakers should not be able to compete with the Cavaliers. And yet the Cavs had to sit there and come back on the Lakers because the Lakers dominated the game. Absolutely dominated the game. Because you know why? The Lakers ran offense. The Lakers cared about playing. They had back picks. They had backdoor cuts. They had screens. What is Ty Lue getting paid for? Just to sit there and be like, I'm just gonna watch LeBron and Kyrie. When you coach the superstars, you already get the negative rep of, oh, anyone could do it. Ty Lue, anyone could do your job right now. You are not helping yourself. You are simply hurting your image by literally just stepping back and letting Kyrie Irving just go up, shoot 3 after 3, shoot long jump shot after long jump shot, not running any offense. And like Kyrie Irving had 46 points, he had 3 assists. Come on. I get we're past the era of Chris Paul is probably one of the last great true assist point guards, but I could sit there and get 3 assists in a game. I got roommates that have never even touched a basketball before. They could get 3 assists in a game, just in simple ball movement. LeBron had 34, 6, and 7. He should against the Lakers. Who's going to stop them? Brandon Ingram? If you watched the game last night, one of the signature plays was LeBron drove to the basket and basically just stiff-armed Brandon Ingram. And it was one of those, boy, you better get out of my way. Because, I mean, Brandon Ingram, I thought he was so much smaller. Is so much smaller than LeBron. LeBron knew it, took advantage of it, which is why LeBron took very few jump shots last night. He just, whenever he wanted to, drove straight to the basket. Get out of my way. Kevin Love, 21 points, 15 rebounds. But they are a soft 15 rebounds. I like Kevin Love as a player. I think he's better than people give him credit for. I think he gets a lot of slack because whenever you're the third guy in a big three, you kind of get put in a different category. But the Cavs are they're so lazy. You just can't play basketball like that. But don't worry. Don't sit there and Say something bad about the Cavs. Don't say something bad about LeBron James. He's the greatest player ever. On his way to being the greatest player ever. He's going to pass Michael Jordan. I'm sorry. Karl Malone came out and said it this week. You're playing, not working. Why are you resting? Michael Jordan made it a point to play 82 games. Michael Jordan, at 40 years old, got up at 6 a.m. and started practicing. With this next topic, I want to say this is unrehearsed. I have no notes. This is simply why I love sports. Why do I love sports? I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of life details about saying, oh, this happened or that happened, but my life hasn't been perfect. Most people's lives aren't perfect. Everyone's got a couple things that go on here and there, and, everybody has their own personal issues, own inner demons. I get all that. The reason why I like sports is I use sports as an escape for reality. When I'm watching the Broncos play, I am one of the most hyped up, passionate, loose cannon, I don't even have a word. Like I'm a nut. Like I get into such a crazy uncontrollable rage and desire during those 3 hours, 3.5 hours. Like I don't want anyone to talk to me. I don't want to hear anyone say anything bad about Denver. I am so in the zone about that game. Like I said, I am gonna pause here a little bit more in this segment than I normally do. This is, like I said, all coming off the top of my head. I don't have notes for this. This is simply what happens. My greatest moment as a fan of any of the teams that I like, and I will defend this player on this basis alone, and I know it's not a good basis or a good argument, but that's just how much in the zone I am during these games. Tim Tebow gave me the greatest thing I've seen as a fan. Tim Tebow to Demaryius Thomas against the Steelers is the climax of my sports fandom. I can still very clearly see him drop back, throw the ball, Thomas stiff arm Mike Taylor, and just keep on running. And in my room, I was jumping up and down. I was shouting. I mean, my grandmother opened the door saying, "What's going on? What's going on?" Like, I had neighbors that called because I got that loud. Because when I'm watching sports, when I'm watching the Broncos, when I'm watching any of the teams that I like and I root for, I am just a different person. When this political season was going on this last year, I got into plenty of arguments with people. I'm into politics. I think, like everybody else thinks, when you're into politics, you think, oh, well, other people don't know it just as well, so like they don't know what they're talking about. But as many arguments as I got in during political season, when I'd sit back and I was able to watch a basketball game, and I was able to sit back and watch a football game, I did not care about politics. I do not care. Sounds bad, but like I do not care who the president of the United States is when I'm watching a basketball game, when I'm watching a football game. I don't care. Because I don't have to anymore. That is my escape. For those 3 hours, for those 2.5 hours, don't talk to me about Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. I'm trying to see Denver's 8-6. I'm trying to see if I need them to get 2 more wins and get into the playoffs, not score 3 points against Tom Brady. That game made me mad. When I'm watching the World Series, when I'm watching the NBA Finals, when I'm watching the Super Bowl, I don't care if the rest of my house is on fire. I had a pretty rough 2016. There's a situation going on with a family member who I care deeply about. She was in the hospital. That was one of the hardest weeks of my life. I was still able to, on Sundays, watch a football game, and the world was okay for that 3.5 hours. But do I have to come back down from it? And do I got to sit there and deal with reality again after? Absolutely. And sometimes that transition's a little rough for me because I get so into it. I get so entrenched in what I'm watching. But that's why I love it. I don't watch movies very seldom. I don't have any great hobby that I can just sit back and do every single day. Just like, I'm bored, I'm going to go do this. But I 100% love sports and everything about them. Because when they're going on, I don't have to deal with the rest of the world. Is that childlike? Maybe. But that's why I love sports. And I hope anyone who watches this podcast, whoever listens to this podcast, watches this podcast, like I said at the end of every show, YouTube, SoundCloud, I'm posting up on Twitter, posting up on Instagram, Snapchat, like just whoever watches these podcasts or listens to them, I hope you guys love sports the same way I do. Just talking about them with people, sharing memories with people. I will always be able to cite, like I said, that Tim Tebow story. I will always know where I was, what I was doing. I'll always know the next weekend being so excited and just the major crash I had when Tom Brady sat there and just stepped on Denver's neck. I will always remember Raheem Moore missing that play against the Ravens. Just as much I will remember Von Miller's strip sack on Cam Newton. I can't even remember that many non-sporting events in my life. But that's how much I love sports. Anyway, you guys, like the end of any show, check me out on YouTube, SoundCloud, Facebook. You know where to find me. Hope you guys all have a great day. This show, I feel a little bad. The sports one wasn't rehearsed. I wasn't able to do as much research on the other ones as I wanted to, so I apologize. They're not as fleshed out as my segments normally are. I will have a more fleshed out show for you guys tomorrow. Also, the episode that was supposed to come out on Friday will also be coming out today. So I'm going to have 2 episodes come out today. I had an issue with my audio, which is why Friday's episode never came out. So look for both episode 7. I'm looking for episodes both 8 and 9 to both drop today. Anyway, hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.